Hey there, I'm a film student and I'm going to give you my take on... I'll explain. We'll dive into 5 categories and score each of them out of 10. Total them up and voila, that's the score of the overall film. First up, let's talk about the story. The film forces us straight to the action, immediately establishing the antagonizing force. We meet Luke Skywalker in Tatooine, yearning for more in life, to escape. The Galactic Empire has a mysterious weapon, keeping the audience hooked and guessing about its power and what it actually is. A power which is later revealed when Darth Vader uses it to blow up the princess's home planet. Critics argue the film is slow until this point, but I think the pace is essential. It fortifies the protagonist's helplessness until they create a unified plan to destroy this Death Star. Obi-Wan sacrifices himself, with his ghost aiding Luke in a thrilling fight that ends with the Death Star's destruction. The script is a masterpiece, featuring an almost archaic dialect with slangs and formalities that emphasises the personality of each character. The film follows an entrancing pace with a 5-act structure, fostering care for characters and evoking emotion with each success or failure. Overall, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. The performances that I mainly want to focus on in this film are Mark Hamill's and Carrie Fisher's. Of course, there are tons of other great actors in this film, but these are the most influential to the film in my opinion. Firstly, Hamill's a perfect example of an actor's growth, which I'll talk more about in future videos. Luke Skywalker was one of his first ever roles, and he played the part of a trapped teenager brilliantly. He tended to oversell his emotions at some points, however, but for a new actor, his skills were impeccable. Now, in my opinion, the star of the original film was Carrie Fisher. She created the most iconic heroine slash damsel not in distress type character ever. Well, yes, George Lucas wrote her, it was Fisher's portrayal that made this character lovable and not just some cash grab or look, we have a strong female character kind of thing. All things considered, the fact that it was like a bunch of newbies with not much acting experience, and of course the like of James L. Jones, Harrison Ford, Peter Mayhew, etc., I give the performance a very solid 7 out of 10. Now, let's talk about the mind-blowing cinematography in this film. Gilbert Taylor and George Lucas created a visual masterpiece where every shot serves a purpose, and just one example of this is the delivery scene. We see these perfectly structured leading lines, which focuses our attention towards the subject subconsciously. The Death Star hangar scene may seem like it's nothing special, but I pop this here, and now you see the scene's composition properly. This actually replicates the original Ralph McQuarrie concept art too. So, lastly, I want to talk about the shot that opens the film. Right, and this is a big one. Lucas plays on the audience's focus and expectation simply with his cinematography. Firstly, they see a moon, expecting the story to start on a distant planet or something, and then a massive planet enters at the bottom, creating that first realization, though not too shocking. And then a seemingly large ship sails into view, before being followed by a triangle that grows and grows, and before the audience even realize that it's a ship, it's already filled the entire top half of the screen. And I think this really shows how the Rebels are, so small in comparison to the Empire, and it sets the tone straight away. With cinematography, I feel like this film pulls no punches. Every detail was meticulously planned, so for that, it gets an 9 out of 10 from me. Also, if you like the segment, I'll leave an info card on a video that has similar points to this that I find very interesting, and you might too. So, anyway. John Williams, in my opinion, the best composer of all time. He beautifully handcrafted not only the score for this film, but also for things such as this, and this. This film is often described as a space opera, and John Williams' music is a great showcase of that. He has a way of matching the attitude, pacing, underlying themes, and foreshadowing directly to the music. This is much more obvious in the prequels, though. I want to mainly talk about the Imperial March and the Force theme. The march emphasizes strong beats and utilizes dotted patterns, which basically just means it has that military feel to it. This motif is mainly played by trumpets and trombones, which creates and sustains that menacing feel you get from it. Talking about the Force theme though, Williams took inspiration from Greek medieval church music. And with this, he evokes a sense of ancient wonder, which I think ties really well into, like I said, archaic script. Keeping the first 2 bars simple, it means he's able to call back to it many times later in the franchise. I know I've only talked about the score as opposed to all the sound, but I promise, now it's off my chest and said because it needed to be. I'm going to talk about not just score, like the entirety of sound for the rest of the reviews for this series. And overall, without a shadow of a doubt, I want to say that this is a 10 out of 10 in the sound department, because John Williams' work is just the best. All right, now we're going to talk about that final trench scene. First off, everything you see here is a miniature. In fact, the majority of the shots in space use miniatures. The product designer Colin Cartwell was the supposed lead designer on the trench, They went through 3 painstaking drafts before agreeing on the narrowest trench as they thought it built tension the most. And honestly, I think it worked really well, alongside the snappy editing that allowed us to focus on all protagonists without letting our tension or attention slip. And overall, I think this scene was a perfect climax to the film. But let's be honest, give Chewbacca his medal. And secondly, I think this is something that everyone who clicked on this video wanted me to talk about, were lightsabers. It all started with a jump cut. Hamill would do his actions, someone would pause the filming, run in behind him, plug the blade in, and resume from there. In terms of the blade itself, they covered a pole in like retro reflective material, which basically meant any light shone at it would bounce straight back at the camera. And to get it to flicker the way you see it do, they basically put a motor in the bottom of the handle to spin the rod. Now, our honorable mention is this scene. And if you can comment below guessing how it was made, I will be bewildered. So, half of what you see here is set, right? As you'd imagine. The platform, the generator, but the rest of what you see here was completely painted on glass by extremely talented artists. And what would be done is they would composite the glass painting over the original image, and the two would match up perfectly. Overall, the effects in this film still hold up to this day, and on top of that, they were revolutionary for their time. I genuinely don't know if there's going to be a film that I'm going to review that has better effects than this one. So yeah, overall, obviously 10 out of 10. And before we reach the surprise at the end of this video, I want to say that if you liked it, please leave a like. And also, when I say a specific word, the button down below will glow when I say subscribe. There's a fun fact for you there. Yeah, comment what aspects you liked, what aspects you think I could improve on, and anything you didn't agree with, please tell me. Okay, before we finalize these points and total them, I've put together a little montage that combines every aspect of what we've talked about here today. So, here you go. So, the final score for this film, Star Wars Episode 4, is 46. Have a wonderful, productive day, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.